Hello everybody, my name is Francisco Teixeira Barbosa and today I'm hosting a webinar for Dental XP. Today we are going to talk about implant dentistry but with digital protocols. So you also can follow me on my Twitter, on Cisco Research, to see more about my work, but also what are the topics that we are going to see today. Today we are going to talk about immediate loading, but we are going to compare immediate loading with the analogic protocol versus the digital protocol. On the other hand, we are going to talk about immediate implants with the digital protocol. And this time here I'm going deep to talk about the socket shield technique, but the digital socket shield technique. How we change the protocol for the socket shield technique using digital tools to achieve a more predictable result. Also, we are going to talk about something that is quite new, that is the digital guided restoration, DGR. That's where you are going to see it, because I don't want to explain it before I start, but what we are going to see is what is the future about restoration and what is the future in digital protocols in implant dentistry. I think you will like it, so enjoy the webinar. So the first thing that we are going to talk about is about immediate loading. And we are going to see a few cases. I'm going to show you two cases just because I want you to compare before where we use it to do immediate loading but without any digital impression, just for the definitive impression, you use a digital impression. And also I'm going to show you cases how we do it now. We use a digital protocol where we introduce digital impressions for full arches, but we do it with trios, with a three-shade trios for immediate loading in the full arch, also in the surgery, and also for the full restoration, the definitive restoration. So you will see the whole protocol and how we do the cases right now, and now we get the vertical dimension in these cases where we have dentureless patients. Good morning and thank you for having me again here on Dental XP. This is my second webinar for Dental XP, so I'm very happy. Thank you, Marie Salema, for the opportunity. And today we are going to talk about digital implant dentistry. The first thing that I would like to tell you is that if you read the book No Ordinary Disruption, there are four great disruptive forces that are changing the world that we're living in. From these four great disruptive forces, there are two that have a direct impact in dentistry. One is the acceleration of the scope, the scale, and the impact of technology, because as you know, everything since the year 2007 or 2006, it's going to get digitalized, and dentistry is one of the fields that is getting more and more digitalized, and we are going to see how it works today. And also another thing is that human population is getting older and the fertility is failing. So what we are going to see is all the time patients that are even more and more older. So we are going to we have to treat these patients that have maybe more atrophic mandibles and less bone and worse conditions to be treated. For example, I have this patient that came to my office. He was wearing a removable prosthesis for during a long time, and now he wants to move for implants. As you can see, the situation is not quite good. Perhaps maybe the worst situation is in the mandible, but in the maxilla we don't have too much bone also. So I give to my patient this treatment plan. Okay, we are going to remove the teeth that are hopeless. You have 4 teeth in the upper maxilla, and we are going to take an impression in the day of the surgery, and after 3 days, in 72 hours, we are going to deliver a PMMA CAD-CAM prosthesis. Now you are asking me why I wait 72 hours to immediate load in my implants. Because I always do all my provisionals in PMEMEA that is manufactured in CAD/CAM. Why? Because I can control the design and also the material. That is, the PMEMEA doesn't release any monomers, and the monomers they are responsible for some reactions in the soft tissue. So we have to avoid using any other kind of acrylics that may cause any recession or allergics to our patients. After 4 months, I will take an impression, this time a digital impression, and I will place the definitive restoration in my patient. So I asked on Twitter a poll about what do you think about immediate loading, and almost all the people said that they do it every time it's possible. So it is a very popular treatment approach, and if you are a very conservative, maybe you should start thinking on starting maybe performing this kind of treatment approach. What is immediate loading? In the literature there are a lot of papers that tells us that maybe that immediate loading is in the same day, immediate loading is 72 hours. Okay, if we go to the Cochrane review, you see that immediate loading is everything that is within the first week after the placement of the implants, even if it is in occlusal loading or in no occlusal loading. What we have to know is that there is a variation of the implant stability that is related with osseointegration, and the loosening of the primary stability that is a mechanical stability. This was well studied by Barwell in 2003, and as you can see, this EISQ changes over time, and we all know from the research from Abramson and Berglund in 2003 and 2004 that there is a bone remodeling around the implant, and of course this mechanical stability is lost after 15 days. So we have to be careful to not maybe manipulate the implants after 1 week. So it's immediate loading validated. Yes, is well documented, and it is scientific validated in almost all the cases. Perhaps much more in the mandible, not so much in the maxilla, because you know the bone quality is not the same. But this chart that you are seeing now, these boxes, 15 years ago were completely different, and if you have any doubt you can ask Professor Maurice Salama when he showed in Switzerland immediate loading in the upper maxilla maybe 15 years ago, and everyone was overwhelmed with that approach in the maxilla. How he could do that? He was treated like maybe a terrorist. It was like for them a great thing, something quite new. So nowadays we are performing immediate loading in the upper maxilla with no problems. What we should know, and what we need to know, is that the bone quality is not the same in all the maxillas. Okay, we have type 1 quality bone is more or less 850 Housefield units, and there is around 500 to 850 in the posterior mandible and anterior mandible, and quality type 4 is below 500 Housefield units. That this is this region is the posterior maxilla, and the type 4, that is the quality 4, is a tuberosity. Okay, what happens when an implant is placed? Okay, we have this animation where we can see that after we do a drilling, we place the implant, and the first thing that will have around the implant will be a blood clot. Okay, as you can see, the first thing, the day 1, only a blood clot, only a primary stability based on a mechanical stability, and this blood clot is substituted by a provisional matrix, and
then woven bone is formed 2 weeks after the implant placement, and this woven bone is then turned into lamellar bone and more mature bone that give us the second stability or the biological stability osseointegration. So what kind of bones exist? There is bone type 1, bone type 2, bone type 3, and bone type 4. This is from the Lechlom and Zarb classification 1985, and my opinion is that this classification is not accurate, because if you go to the articles from Trizi in Rao in the year 98, they show you that there is no histologic difference between the bone type 2 and the bone type 3. So what they said is that the classification should be hard bone, soft bone, and medium bone, and nothing more, because from an histologic point of view, bone type 2 and bone type 3 are not different. And this is the map that we have to have in our head before we perform immediate loading, to know where is the hard bone, the soft bone, and a medium bone. Here is a graphic that I created based on the article from Norton in 2001. And so also if you are going to perform immediate loading, maybe you want to have a predictability. So it's very important that we use some tools like the Hostel device that helps you to know what is your implant stability. It gives you a number that is the ESQ number that goes from 0 to 99, and it measures the implant stability. What it's saying is the resistance that your implant has to micromotion. We all know that micromotion during the healing phase is a critical issue. If you have a micromotion that is above 150, you have a fiber integration. This is something that we know from the articles from Smukler and Moncler. So it's very important to control, and that all our implants that are going to be immediate loaded have an ISQ over 60, if they are splinted, of course. Here is our patient. We removed the hopeless teeth, we placed the implants, we did an analogical impression, but you can see in the left bottom photo that all the implants have an intermediate abutment. Why they have an intermediate abutment? I always use intermediate abutment because from the article from Abramson the year 97, if you are going to perform a lot of reconnections and connections, maybe you can cause an apical migration of your biological width and a bone recession and also soft tissue recession. So it's very important that you use an intermediate abutment, so you are going to manipulate your implant above that critical zone, that is that zone, the connection zone between the implant and the teeth and the restoration. Also, if we are going to do a full arch prosthesis in ceramics, we have to enhance the lip support. Otherwise, our patients will tell you that I feel older with the new prosthesis, because the other one helped me with the lip support, gave me the lip support that I need, and now with the new ceramic prosthesis, I have my nasogenian wrinkles more marked. So we have to create some kind of volume here below the nasal floor and the alveolar bone with bios. This is bios because you know it is a long-term turnover, and it is a biomaterial that doesn't resorb so easily and takes time to resorb. So I use bios for these cases where I place it right there, as you can see. So I enhance the lip support. You can see this video, the entire video of the surgery, on my YouTube channel, the Francisco Teixeira Barbosa. You can check for my name, and you will see the entire video there. So the idea is more or less like this one. As you can see, you have the nasogenial wrinkles. You want to remove them. and the only option is to place a biomaterial just below the nasal floor and in the buccally in the buccal bone. So it's a very easy technique, and it is a protocol that I took from the periocentrum team, and it works quite well. So we did an analogical impression. Here we have a PMMA CAD/CAM prosthesis, provisional restoration, and after 4 months I have this situation where the soft tissue is healed, and now the implants healed, also eventful, and I start to perform some changes in the soft tissue. There is a lack of soft tissues maybe in the canine, where I'm going to do a tuberosity soft tissue graft. And here is something, it's a funny video, but I like to show it because it's something that can happen to everyone. As you can see, removing and retrieving a connective soft tissue graft from the tuberosity is very easy. But it can happen this thing that you are suturing your connective tissue graft, and your assistant comes with a sucking machine, and voila, you lost your graft. So really be careful. Thanks God we have two tuberosities, and I could remove another graft from the other tuberosity. Now we are going to perform a digital impression of a full arch. So this is the new thing, how we do it. So the first thing we take, you see the video in the left bottom, in the left top. You see that we are scanning the antagonist, then we scan the emergency profiles, then we scan the scan bodies, then we have to scan the intermaxillar relation, is the vertical dimension. How we do it? We do it using the provisional. We cut the provisional and we screw the provisional, as you can see in the first photo above in the right. That is, the provisional is screwed, and this is going to make we use it as a stop, so we can take the intermaxillar relation between the two jaws. As you can see, we are scanning now the vertical dimension. It's a quite easy approach, and it is our protocol. We're still using it. And as you can see, this is the model that comes from the manufacturer, then in this case is Fibo, where we take advantage of the photos that we took with the patient with the provisionals, and we merge it with the digital files, the 3D files. We start merging 3D files and 2D files long time ago, and we merge the two files to design the definitive restoration. Here we have definitive restoration. We did a one-piece framework because we wanted to check the passive fit. So we wanted just one piece to do the Sheffield test and also the X-rays. We tested in mouth, we did the Sheffield test, everything was okay. Also the X-ray shows us that it is a good framework, it fits, it does a passive fit, and we put the ceramics over this work in the framework. We place in mouth, and this is a 3 years follow-up. So in this case, as you see, we can do full arch with the trios, with the 3-shape trios. It's not such a difficult approach if you have the right protocol. And let's move forward, and we are going to complicate things a little bit more. Here is a lady with 55 years old, and the periodontal status is really bad. She has a mobility type 3 in all the teeth, except some molars, but as you can see, she's now decided to remove all her teeth because she really don't like what she has in her mouth. She doesn't like her teeth. The other thing that she asked me is that she doesn't want to wear a removal process in any cases. So I have to place the implants, immediate implants, and I have to do an immediate loading. Of course, I start regret as soon as I raise the flap. As you can see, the bone conditions are so bad that that we have that we really try to abort mission. We should as you can see, the conditions are so bad, so we start regretting to promise our patient to do an approach with the immediate loading. We place the implants because also we have to do a zirconia prosthesis, so we have to do to place the implants in the position 6, 4, 3 and 1, because we have to segment and to divide the framework. We place intermediate abutments, and also we place the scan bodies. As you can see, there is a flat zone in these scan bodies that are oriented toward buccal. Right now we change the protocol. We place this flat region toward palatal. Why? Because we saw that a great reference for the scan is the palatal wrinkles. So if you start scanning from the palatal, it's quite much more easier. Here we have our case after we suturing. As you can see, we have a molar in the top, in the bottom left. This molar we maintain just to keep the proprioception and also to maintain the vertical dimension. It's quite important to keep this molar during the immediate loading. I always try to leave a second molar in place just to maintain the proprioception, and also to help me during the scanning process to have the vertical dimension. Okay, you can see the whole surgery on YouTube on my channel, because it's a large surgery, half-an-hour surgery, but this is a guided bone regeneration. At the same time we do immediate loading. This approach is not well documented in the scientific publications, so it is something that we have to do with caution. We have to perform with caution, but you can see the whole surgery, and I'm going to show you some more cases where you see that it really works. After 72 hours after performing a digital impression of our patient after the surgery, we have our provisional. Here it is, 72 hours after, and after 4 months this is the aspect of the patient. As you can see, the soft tissue healed so perfectly, and no bleeding, nothing, everything is clean. And this is one of the effects of using the PMMA. You will see if you use a provisional that is manufactured with CAD/CAM that it's really great, the healing of the soft tissues. Then again we perform another digital impression with the scan bodies, and here we have the framework with a zirconia framework test where it fits perfectly, and then the work is finished. As you can see that before and after there is a quite big difference, and also the patient that is happy with our new rehabilitation. So we start doing this protocol in a lot of patients. We are right now a series of cases that is quite important. As you can see, here are immediate implants with the same protocol with guided bone regeneration. This case that is a very difficult case, is a very young patient with only 34 years old, but as you can see, we performed the immediate implants and guided bone regeneration. We did another PMMA prosthesis. Also we did a framework, a one-piece framework with chrome cobalt piece framework with CAD/CAM, and we delivered a full ceramic definitive restoration. So soon we will publish this in July. We will have this book that is already in pre-order in the iTunes store about guided bone regeneration, with videos and also cases, clinical cases, and much more techniques about how to do a guided bone regeneration. Is already on the iTunes store, and also this ebook about immediate loading, that is also in the iTunes store available.
And now we are going to see cases about immediate implants immediately restored, but with a digital protocol. and we are going to see how we do socket shield with digital impressions and what are the advantages of using digital impressions when we do a socket shield. And also we are going to see some cases about the PET or RCT technique, the root sur technique, that was the father of the technique of the socket shield technique. So let's get in deep with these topics.
Now we are going to move to immediate implants, and this is where we are going to see something that is not quite new but is quite controversial. Let's see, the first thing is that the socket classification. You have the alien classification, where it is the type 1 and the type 2 and the type 3. The type 1 classification is when you have the bone and the soft tissue in place, you don't have a recession of any of the two. The type 2 is when you have the soft tissue in place but you have a recession of the bone, and the type 3 where you have the recession of the soft tissue and also the recession of the hard tissue. So immediate implants, we should be very caution performing it in type 2 alveolus. There are some techniques that we are not going to talk about it today. We are going to focus on type 1 socket. And another thing that we have to check is where is positioned a root from a sagittal point of view, and this is from an article from Khan in 2001. As you can see, there is the root that is positioned against the cortical plate. That is the type 1 socket. The type 2 is when the root is in the center of the socket, and also the type 3 socket is when the root is positioned against the palatal cortical plate, and the type 4, that is the worst socket, the worst type, is when you don't have bone even buccally and neither in palatal. So where we should place our implant? So we all know now from a lot of, at the beginning of immediate implants, the professors told us to engage the implant in the buccal wall. This was a terrible mistake. So what we do in these cases, we leave 1.5 to 2 millimeters of gap. This is very important, because if we don't do this, the emergence is not going to be will not give us an aesthetic outcome. It's very important to place the implant toward palatal, so we can have a proper emergency profile to our restoration. That's why it's so important to leave that gap and not never engage the buccal bone wall. Also, we should know what happens after an extraction. We know from the articles from Kaderopoulos in 2003, where this is a great article, where we see that the first day we have a blood clot, then we can start having a provisional matrix and a granulation tissue. We still have a granulation tissue after 2 weeks, but we start having a provisional matrix and a woven bone. And also after four weeks we have a mucosa that is sealing the socket. Then after 2 months we have a hard bone breach that closes the socket, and then we have this woven bone that is gradually replaced by lamellar bone. This is the dynamics after bone and extraction. There is a quote from this guy that is shared all on Google, that he was the commissioner of the United States Patent and Trademarks Office during the 1898 and 91, and he said that everything that can be invented has been invented. So this quote should never be said, and as you know, there are a lot of things that were invented since then. And if we look back and we we try to remember some articles like the Schropp article and the Carder-Roppe article, and also the Linda article in 2005, where they describe the bundle bone, and they say that this bone that is dependent from the periodontal ligament, when we remove the teeth and we remove this blood supply that is supplying the blood to the bundle bone is going to disappear. So that's why we are going to lose all the volume that is related with the teeth. So some guys try to place implants. This is David Parnat placing implants over roots, the ankylosing roots, and other ones like Maurice Salama start performing pontics over roots that were surmeasured. The root surmeasured technique, that is a very popular technique, and it was published in 2007. As you can see, I have also some cases. Here is a case of a prosthetic completely failure. As you see, the patient he had a car crash and a car accident, and he decided to remove this prosthesis, and we decided to place implants with a ridge expansion. You can see the whole video in the YouTube channel, because it's a video about ridge expansion and also connective tissue graft and guided bone regeneration. And we did a digital impression. We placed a provisionals. We augmented the keratinized tissue in the zone buccally. But our patient during the provisional phase went to a soccer match and he received a ball in his face. And you can see he broke one of the teeth, and we have two decisions here. So I tell the patient, look, if I remove this teeth, this thing is going to collapse, and I will have to do another connective tissue graft. My patient said, absolutely no, you cannot touch me again, my palatal. It hurts so much that I don't want. So I remember the RCT technique from Maurice Salama, and I said, I'm going to bury this root and see what happens. And just after 1 week, as you can see, it's covered with a nice epithelium, and now the dental gingival architecture is preserved. We passed from a situation like this to a situation like this one. We test the zirconia framework and we deliver the definitive restoration. So the RCT, we can say that is the father of this technique, the socket shield technique. Okay, the socket shield technique, as you can see, this is a hopeless incisor. We are going to talk a little bit about it. With a horizontal fracture, there is a hopeless teeth due to the subgingival fracture. And what we did is a shield preparation in the buccal. We also built with a CAD-CAM this PMEMA guide that it was designed with the 3Shape Implant Studio. We placed the Aurea Evo implant using this guide. And nowadays we know that because we have a research ongoing and we are going to publish it soon, that we should never trespass. We should never go over the 50 newtons when we are doing a socket shield, and we should avoid the contact between the implant and the fragment, because we are the two failures that we have in our clinical report. They were for sure for excessive torque, and because there was a contact between the implant and the root fragment. Also, as you can see, we measured the torque. We measured the ESQ. You can see here is the smart peg, and we are going to measure the Ostel. We did it with the implant method, and then we did a digital impression. The advantage of the digital impression is that we can see the root fragment. You can see here we are scanning, and for sure we can see where is the fragment. This is very important to decide the provisional and the definitive restoration, because the fragment cannot be in contact with the definitive restoration or the provisional restoration. So we do the design in CAD, and we can control this thing. You can see the whole process. When we start doing the socket shield technique, we use it to use endogame. Right now we stop using endogame because it doesn't make more sense. There are publications after the Urzeller article in 2010 that they do not use any kind of endogame. We perform a digital impression. We measure with the host of the implant stability. It has to be over 60. And then we place a provisional, we wait 4 months, we perform another digital impression, and then we deliver the definitive restoration. Here is a video that explains the whole process, but we are going to pass to an entire video where we will see the wall surgery we're using for the socket shield. As you can see, the first thing is the hemi section of the root. Okay, so after doing this hemi section, we remove very carefully the palatal fragment. After removing the palatal fragment, we prepare the shield, the buccal shield. Right now, there is not a consensus how deep should be this fragment. I usually place it 2 millimeters below the gingiva, but then now I'm leaving it really right at the level of the buccal bone. It's 3 millimeters more or less. So I have a diamond burr with 3 millimeters diameter, just to know where I have to prepare my root fragment. As you can see, the first drill it's with water and saline water and with high rotation speed, and then we do not use any kind of water with low rotation. This is a biological drilling that was described by Anitwa in 2007. It's a very easy technique, and you can reuse the bone that you retrieve with your drills. So after that, after passing the wall drills, we do not under prepare the socket when we do the socket shield technique, and we place endogame. We use it to place endogame between the root fragment and also the implant. We place the implant. As you can see, sometimes it is in contact with the fragment. We should avoid the contact between the implant and the fragment. And we measure the ESQ. In this case, 62. All the implants that has more than 60, we go for immediate restoration. So in this case, 62. We have the smart peg. We remove the smart peg. With illustrations, with animations, you can see that I did these animations just for you to understand better how is the socket shield technique. Hemi section, we prepare the fragment, we use the drills, and then we use the endogame, and then we place the implant. So as you can see, it's a very sensitive technique. Is for expert hands. So, but as you can see, the process is not quite difficult. Then we have to scan. We scan the emergence profile, but also the position of the implant with the scan body. This was the Trios 2 scan at the time. Right now we are using the Trios 3, and we are doing the research where we do a pink aesthetic score and white aesthetic score assessment of all of the cases, and also we merge the files, the ESTL files, to see the volumetric change over time of all the cases. And what we are seeing is that the recession of the zenith is in average 0.1 millimeters. It's something that you cannot see with your eyes. You have to check with the software. When we merge the two files, the STL files, merge it, and we see that the recession is almost inexistent. No, it doesn't exist almost any kind of recession. So there is another case. This was a very complicated case because the patient had a high lip smile line. So we have to be very careful. We did a simulation with a Smile 5D. We did the extraction. We placed the implant in the correct position, and as you can see the shield perfectly. We placed the implant, and the implant is in contact with the fragment. And also, after we measure the ESQ, the hostel, and you can see the image in the center. You can see the fragment perfectly. You can see the fragment, so you can design the provisional restoration and the definitive restoration, avoiding that fragment. It's very important to keep a distance between the fragment and the restoration. This is something that digital gives us in this technique, and it is very, very important, because if you leave a contact between the fragment and the provisional or the definitive restoration, it can be a leakage zone for bacteria and for infections. This is another video of this case. You can see the whole video on YouTube. It's better you to go there and see the whole video because it's a very large video, but we show how we did this case. So after 4 months we have this emergency profile. Is ready to go. We just scan the emergency profile, and then we scan the implant position, and we order customized abutment. As you see, the margin is 0.5 millimeters below the gingival margin, no more. We know from the articles from Licavicius that if you go deeper with your gingival, with your preparation, with your marginal preparation of your customized abutment, you will not be able to remove the cement, and you may have biological complications in the short and the medium term. This is the definitive restoration. As you can see, the patient was happy because it was very similar to the one that we did the simulation. And now we already present the abstract in the Europerio in London in 2015, and now we are preparing the article, definitely with a series of cases where we measure this variation. There is more about socket shield in another ebook that is in the iTunes store about implant dentistry, immediate implants.
And the last thing that we are going to see today is the DGR, Digital Guided Restoration. What is it all about? We are going to explain how we use digital impression from the patient and also the CBCT, the cone beam tomography from the patient. We merge the two files, and how we can design a prosthesis before everything is going to happen, so before the surgery. This is quite leap jump, so a big jump for us, because now we can have the restoration, the provisional restoration, before we go into the surgery. Let's see how we do it.
What is the future in immediate loading? This is something quite new. This is something that we are working around, and we are very excited about this. Is that we have this patient with two hopeless central incisors. At beginning I tried to save them, but the endodontists tell me that they were not able to make the root treatment canal. So we did some photos, we did a 3D scan with the Trios 3, we did a SMILE design, and we designed a prosthesis before we perform the surgery. We did this virtual wax up, we placed virtually the implants, and also we built a surgical guide. This is the surgery and the implants that are that are manufactured before the surgery, they fit perfectly in our implants. So let's see the whole process in a video. It's better to see the process in the video. See the two hopeless teeth. As you can see, when the patient smiles, she doesn't like her smile. She's searching for a job. She's an employer. She's really a drama, and we want to help her to get hired. So first thing, we scan the patient during the first visit to the dental office. We did a smile design. We did a virtual wax up. We showed to the patient this is how we're going to be in the future, and she gets so happy. This is the virtual wax up, and with the virtual wax up, we place the implants in the position that they should be. This was a type 4 socket from the CAN classification that we saw before. It was not an easy case to place immediate implants. That's why one of them is a little bit buccally. We remove the teeth. The extraction should be the most traumatic as possible. She had an apical chronic infection that is not a absolute contraindication for immediate implants. We clean thoroughly the sockets with chlorhexidine. And we are going to place the guide. And we are going to start drilling. We have to make sure that the guide is in place. We have to be sure that the guide doesn't any kind of micro motion during the drilling process. That's why I always place one finger over the guide just to hold it during the drilling process. It's very important. Here it is, we are drilling with biological drilling, no water. It doesn't make sense to use water here because you are not going to cool your drill beneath that tool. So we keep going with our drilling protocol. Remember that we already have our provisional restorations manufactured before the surgery with the connection, directly to the connection. Now the implants are going to be placed. As you can see, they have to match perfectly with the place where we planned it virtually. And now it comes the real moment where your provisional prosthesis has to fit perfectly, and we could screw it, and it was a happy ending for us because we could validate this process, and now we are moving to more difficult cases for doing this kind of approach in bigger cases with full arches and so on. As I can see that the patient right after the surgery, she's happy with the two teeth. So is this perfect? Is not perfect, but we are proving it. As you can see, there is a proliferation of the soft tissue in the connection. That this means that there is a not perfect passive fit, but we are improving the system, and we are sure that this is the future. Having the prosthesis right before the surgery. It's time to say goodbye. I will also to mention Simon Sinek that always says that in his book Start with a Why. He says one quote that is more or less like this: a customer is not a person that buys you a lot of things, but is the person that keeps buying you a thing that other one has the same features or maybe more features at a lower price. So that one is the real customer. For example, I am an Apple customer. I know that maybe Samsung is a better phone and more powerful with a better camera, but I prefer the iPhone. I prefer Apple things. I prefer Apple computer, everything that is from Apple. And for a digital dentist, I think it's more easy for us to engage with the patients. And for me, a real patient is not that patient that goes a lot to your office, but that patient that keeps going to your office even if there is another dental office that gives him a better price and the same product with a better price, but he prefers to go to your dental office. That's why I use a lot of digital instruments to engage with my patients and to keep my patients faithful to my office. So yeah, I leave you also with Connect Your Smile blog, where you can see some more posts about this is one article that I wrote recently, why high insertion torque is not a positive thing. Also, you have the PerioSpot library, where you can download a lot of iBooks for free. You can try it. And also thank you to my family. And sorry, because you heard some kids on the background. That are these for my kids that are around at home, and sometimes they scream and I cannot avoid it. So sorry for that if they disturb you during the webinar. But as you can see, the family is a big family, and I'm happy for that. And just a pity that I can't spend all the time that I want with them, because I'm traveling all the time. Time to say goodbye. I have my website, the periospot.com. Also my email, cisco@periospot.com. My phone number, my Facebook, that you can follow me on my Facebook, also on LinkedIn, Francisco Teixeira Barbosa, also on my Twitter, Cisco Research, and also on my Instagram, Tuminha DDS, where I share cases and also clinical cases and more stuff. It was for me a pleasure of being a part again of the Dental XP family, and also I hope to see you soon in a congress, or perhaps maybe in some kind of event or other event or whatever, whenever may happen, or in social network. So goodbye, and thank you for having me today here on Dental XP.